DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good morning, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? Thank you for listening to the Dolphins Talk Matchup Show as I am broadcasting live from a hotel room in Hollywood, Florida. I can't be yelling and screaming because I don't want to wake up the people next to me and get thrown out of this place. It's too nice. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined by Robert Burns. Robert, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that you are in the Sunshine State. Michael said he's in a hotel room, but he didn't say he was in a hotel room in South Florida, which is what makes this week so much more special with Tua returning and Mike at the game.
That's right. He better not let me down because it's all about me.
He better not play. What better not happen is what happened when I went to the game. So if Dolphins Talk reporters and staff members are going to these games, please Tua make it through the third quarter.
Well, here's the reason it's not a jinx, because Ian's at every game, so I think we're okay.
Fair. Okay.
That's our one out clause, so we can't. It's not our fault. We're going to talk about the game this week versus Arizona on Sunday, which there's a lot of twists and turns, even in the past 24 hours, of who is playing, who's not playing, and pretty much sums up the 2024 Miami Dolphins season in a nutshell.
Yeah,
with everything that's taking place.
Before we get to that, if we did it on Thursday, Mike.
What's that?
It's a different show now if we had done this on Thursday.
Oh, absolutely. It's a totally different show. Before we get to the news and this week, that Colts game last week, good God almighty. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I messaged you, and I thought that the Dolphins actually lost that game. I thought they gave it up because the missed field goal and two fumbles right in the red zone area, that would have won you the game the way that the defense was playing, and you just needed competent quarterback play. Not great, not wonderful, but competent quarterback play and hold on to the ball. So the strength of your team, and Mike said he wouldn't be a believer until Mike McDaniel changed his pattern and ran the ball another 40 times. Mike, he ran the ball another 40 times. So you're somewhat a believer, I would imagine now.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that got you to that point is also what lost you the game, and that's the irony of it. So I think they lost that game. They gave it away. I don't think the Colts won it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's all about wins and losses, and it's just another new and creative way to lose a game. I don't know. So it is what it is. This week, news, pretty much, I got it in my notes here. See, I'm not at home. Everything's on a small
screen. So the biggest thing for everyone out there to know is within the past 24 hours, Zach Sealer broke his orbital bone in his eye during practice. So he is not playing. So what was one of the strengths, and I mean, he and Calais Campbell have been playing lights out for the defensive line. They're probably the only two that have. And now you lose the main anchor of your defense. I mean, Calais Campbell's on a 1-year deal. Like, that's fine. We know what that is. And Sealer's got a few years left on his deal. He was the one that was chosen to stay over Christian Wilkins. So the main anchor now not going to be in there this week against a rushing attack that's really good.
Well, here's the thing, too, is Zach Sealer. It's going to be more than a week, it sounds like. I mean, this is a fractured orbital bone. He might be going on IR, and that's a month when you got the Bills coming up, the Rams coming up, and some pretty tough opponents, which if you're trying to turn around your season and salvage it, that's not good, to say the least. So the Zach Sealer injury, especially this week, you got Murray, who can make plays with his legs. Yep. You got James Conner, who's going to be just tough to tackle, and you got a Miami team that's given up 7.9 yards per carry and then 5.5 yards per carry last week versus the Colts, who's having trouble in stopping the run anyways. Now you lose him. It's just what can go wrong has gone wrong. Javon Holland, I think, is going to play, it sounds like. He sounds like he's been cleared, so he's going to have a club on his hand, but he'll play with one hand. Tyreek Hill is listed as questionable. I have something with his foot.
He'll play.
He'll probably play. I have no idea what's going. I mean, it's Tyreek. It's always something with him. And number one, Tua is returning. I'm happy he's playing because he wants to play. I'm happy. Is it going to be tough to watch this? Not because he's not good. It's tough to watch because you're going to be holding your breath every snap he's on the field. Yeah. I know there's Dolphins fans who, view these players as commodities, as cards, and they're not real people. God bless you. I just think from now on, it's just going to be tough to watch knowing one hit, routine hit, not even a big hit, just a routine hit, is going to drastically affect this man's future. So I'm happy he's back because he wants to play. Happy for him, but I got to be honest. This is tough. I mean, this is going to be tough to watch in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and you know that everyone's going to be watching what's the first snap and what's the first time he moves around slightly pressured in the pocket. And that's going to be the highlights on SportsCenter and everywhere you're going to look. So it's not fun for us anymore. Watch Dolphins. It's not that it was fun to watch, Tua potentially not get hurt, but it's not fun for us to watch him and just know what the highlights, what the talk is going to be like. I'm tired, Mike, of reading power rankings, and every week the power rankings is about Tua and a concussion. I haven't read about it before, and the world doesn't know what the history is. We get it. Give me something else, guys. And so that's why last year was such a blessing where we didn't have to talk about it. It wasn't a concern. They just played, they won, they had fun, and this year, we just can't have nice things. So. It will be uncomfortable to watch, but I think it's going to be must see for us, especially down here.
Yeah, and plus this is going to be our reality.
Yeah,
until he's gone, which might be many years from now. I mean, it's because this isn't going away. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, and I know some fans get upset. They go, "Well, other players have concussions too." Yeah, but this is different, and we know it's different. It just is. He's in the fencing position. Routine hits, not even big hits, cause this. There's levels to this, and we know his level is much different than anyone else. So to play the whataboutism game to me has always been stupid because not every situation is the same, and we know his situation is worse. It just is. That's reality to all of this. Let's get into the matchups here. Now, let's start a quarterback, which is an interesting one. You got a quarterback who has only played a game in 3 quarters, and he didn't even play well. He's returning from Miami. And then you got Kyler Murray, who's actually having a pretty good year. So,
yeah,
no brainer. Who's got the edge?
I mean, honestly, at this one here, I'm going to push.
Really?
I'm going to push. I am going to push on this because I'm not going to play the potential game anymore with this. And usually I feel like these players can do better, but until I see it this season, I don't know who the better quarterback is. Remember, Tua played a game in 3 quarters. Those 3 quarters that I was at were horrendous. That first game was not the best highlight reel for Tua. Didn't make any mistakes, but didn't go out there and really win the game and take over. Threw it for over 300 yards, but you kind of had to because there was no running game against Jacksonville. So he wasn't that great going into this season and starting this season. Kyler Murray has been fine. He's got 3 interceptions on the year. He's thrown 1 touchdown every game. There's your prop bet, by the way. But he hasn't lit the world on fire. 145 yards, 215 yards. 142 yards, 207 yards. So they're both okay to me. The only thing that Kyler Murray has that leg up on is the fact that he can use his legs. And we know Tua, just whatever the under is on Tua's rushing props today, take the under. If it's 0, take 0. That's what it's going to be. And so that's where I think Kyler Murray has that edge, is he is more escapable in the pocket. And I have seen it. He hasn't done anything to really wow me, but Tua hasn't either this year. If that changes after this game, then we can talk next week. But for right now, going into this game, I don't see Tua as the monumental better quarterback this season. Players have bad seasons. It happens.
Yeah, running back, Arizona's really got one, but he's pretty good in James Conner.
Yeah.
Miami, we obviously know Mostert, Achane, and Wright. And it seems like Wright should be playing more. That's number 1, I'd say. Mostert had the big fumble last week, but he doesn't fumble a lot, so I don't think it's an issue moving forward. But Miami's got more players, and I think they have to have the edge here.
Yeah, I think Miami has the edge, and James Conner has been doing a heck of a job, and I think Arizona's top 5 in the league in rushing at this point. And so Miami has more complementary players. You know, when James Conner is not in the game, I think there is a big drop off to DeMarcado and Trey Benson, DJ Dallas, who Miami Hurricanes product, but he's not even top of anywhere near sniffing some play time. So I see as Miami has the more well-rounded game. They have been playing that game really well the past 2 weeks. I don't think Mike deviates from that. I think what helps Tua is a healthy running game. Now, having Tua is going to help the passing game, but I think that you lean on all 3 healthy complement of rushers that you have, and you go from there. So Miami has that edge running the ball. And Mike, honestly, I'm going to say this: the offensive line has been making some holes. They've been providing the past couple. Starting 5, I'm not worried about them right now because they have been providing those holes. Now, pass coverage hasn't been bad either in that particular case, and we can talk about this with the receiving aspect of it. The quarterbacks just hold on to the ball that we've had. And so there were plays to be made. They're just not used to making them. So I'm not faulting the offensive line right now either. I think they're playing well, and that leads to a better rushing game going forward.
Yeah, it's always been that way with this group on the offensive line. For the most part, they can run block much better than pass block. They can't pass block to save their lives, really. But run blocking, once they get in a rhythm and get going, they're pretty good. Robert Jones, again, as a run blocker, isn't awful. I mean, he's not great, but he isn't awful. Right. Liam's strength is more as a run blocker than a pass blocker. So once that crew gets going as a run blocking unit, they can actually run block pretty well. Wide receivers and tight ends. Look, Marvin Harrison Jr., I know he hasn't had like a breakout really moment per se yet. He's going to be very good. Now, he might not be right there today. Outside of that, Michael Wilson's like okay. Like he'd be a perfect guy to have in Miami as like a number 3 actually, but he's a number 2. Miami, it's Hill, Waddle, and pretty much nobody else at this point. Although Janu Smith, we have to count as a tight end here, has come on of late, and I hope with the quarterback change he continues to be involved. I just hope that.
Yeah. Again, I think this goes back to my beginning point. We're talking potential because Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle haven't done much the past couple of weeks. I haven't done much the whole season, honestly. That first game, there were maybe a couple of plays that really stood out against Jacksonville. Tyreek's touchdown run and the 60-yard pass from Waddle. But other than that, can you tell me anything that they have done to really get wild separation for any of these backup quarterbacks to throw to them? And no, you can't. Janu Smith has really opened up the past couple of weeks, and I think that it's really helped that he had, a good connection with Huntley. And that kind of cancels out because Arizona does have a good tight end, Trey McBride. He can play. And that cancels that out. Marvin Harrison Jr., really good wide receiver, but his separation rate is one of the lowest in the league for starting wide receivers. So he had a really great game a couple of weeks ago. Hasn't done much yet, but the Dolphins tight ends or Dolphins wide receivers rather haven't either. Miami has the edge, and this is one of those where I know what I'm getting. I feel like with a starting quarterback in there, that Miami starting 2 are going to play better, and they're going to have more of that chance because they can get to those routes, and Tua feels comfortable throwing into those tight windows, even if they are still tight. And Arizona has a really good secondary. I think that Miami's wide receivers will be able to get more separation this week. That's my hope. That's my hope.
Offensive line, again, for Miami, you kind of know what you're getting.
Yep.
Arizona, what do we just say here for Arizona? I don't know.
I mean, Kelvin Beachum, I don't know if he's going to play a whole lot, and he's probably the most tenured player on that offensive line. He's been around, played a long time for the Jets as well. They're fine. Again, this is one where no one's offensive line outside of maybe Kansas City or maybe Baltimore are really probably tops in the league. Everyone else, including Miami, are fine. No one's doing anything. It's a push for me on the offensive line.
All right, now here's the thing. We're going to go to the other side of the ball, defense. Arizona's defense is like miserable. It's like one of the worst in the league, if not like arguably the worst in the league. So this is why this Miami offense, which I think if you go back to last year, like right before the Cowboys game last year, they haven't scored more than like 22 points or 21 points in all but like one game. Like they don't even get to 20 points most weeks. So if there's a week where you expect this offense to kind of break out some, get to like 24, which is not even a crazy number, this might be it. Because if you go back to that week, which is not that, I mean, yes, you got the Ravens game last year, then you got the Bills game, then you got the playoff game, and all this year. They don't get to 20 points, Miami, most weeks. So this would be a week. Let's start with the front seven. No Zach Sealer from Miami.
Yeah.
But whatever here Arizona's rolling out, like it's a bunch of names nobody's ever heard of on the front seven.
No, neither one is wowing me. And I don't see one as significantly better than the other. Arizona's got players like, hold on, I want to pull up their I think top tackler for Arizona is coming out of safety, and that's Budda Baker. So that's not necessarily a good sign that their rushing game and the upfront seven is really helpful. So I don't see anyone. It would have been Miami an easy pick, but with no Zach Sealer, I don't know which way to go on this one. I see them as pretty even in the front seven.
Yeah. Secondary, I think Miami has an edge here with Holland back, even with one hand.
Yeah.
You might see Cam Smith this week. Who knows? Possible. It's like Haley's Comet, like once every 100 something years. You might see Cam Smith.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much healthy in the secondary, I'd say. So I give the edge to Miami there.
Yeah, I agree. Edge to Miami, like I mentioned, Budda Baker, Jaylen Thompson, good players. They've been okay. They have games where they shut people out, and they have games where you can do whatever you want to them. So Miami has proven to be really in all three phases of the defense between the line. I mean, rushing's mediocre. But Miami's defense has really been the star of what they have, especially their secondary. You cannot pass on the secondary, and they have one of the top-rated third down defenses in the league as far as secondary goes as well. So you have to go Miami until you find someone, again, like maybe Kansas City or someone else who has a defensive backfield that really is better.
Yep. It's going to take a second. Special teams, edge Arizona. Okay,
Arizona.
On the head coach.
Move along.
I'd probably go push at head coach. Jonathan Gannon's still pretty young, and I think Mike McDaniel, I don't know.
Yep, Mike McDaniel, and again, I got to see what Mike does and how he protects Tua and what are the plays that he calls this week. That's what I'm really looking to see on how he handles that. I think the fact that he leaned heavily on the run the past 2 weeks in a row now, knowing what he had, that shows me he's learning, but it hasn't showed me that he's mastered the craft yet. So going into this game, Arizona, they're coming off a win, and Miami's coming off a win, but I don't see either head coach as taking a huge lead in the race.
Yeah. So what's your prediction here? I gave mine the other night. I had Arizona 27-20. Well, now with the loss of Zach Sealer, I just feel more confident in that prediction, unfortunately. Where are you?
Unlike last week, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go Miami this week. Miami 23-17. I think, Arizona's going to score some points. They're going to get a couple of touchdowns in there, but I think that having Tua back, everyone's just going to be lifted. They're going to play better. It's not going to be 70 points against Denver better, but they're going to play better than they have the past couple of weeks. Because really, Mike, anything is better in the quarterback play than we have seen the past 4 weeks.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I can't stress that enough.
It cannot get any worse than we've been putting freaking Tim Boyle out there twice. The only thing they haven't done is force Skylar Thompson, because if they do, they're going to lose us all. They know that. They're going to lose us all.
That's going to be interesting because now he goes back to the number 2 Skylar with Huntley out for the season.
Yep.
And they picked up CJ Beathard, which makes me once again ask the question, which I can't get an answer to. Why is Tim Boyle here? If every time somebody gets hurt, and even when guys come back, you pick up quarterback because you don't want to play him, why is he here? It makes no sense. None of it makes sense, but that's another topic for another day. Bold and Bull, you were 4-2 last week again. Now, look, you're 14-22. You're climbing out of this hole slowly, but you're climbing out of the hole. So you have a chance here to come close to 500.
Give me a Tua rushing prop today, baby. Give me a Tua rushing prop.
I don't have one. I don't have a Tua rushing prop.
Is there one?
I do have one Tua prop. I got some. Here's some interesting ones. With Zach Sealer out, and we know what Miami's done the past few weeks versus the run, Arizona will have more than 5.5 yards per carry as overall rushing.
Oh, that's tough. And I had a note here that had James Conner alone averaging almost 4.6 yards per carry. And so you factor in Kyler Murray and the fact that historically Miami has not been able to really wrangle in mobile quarterbacks. I say under. I say that is bull. It's not going to be 5.5. That's a lot of yards every time. And I don't know if Kyler is going to run that. What's his rushing numbers here? I have him.
Well, here's the deal. Indianapolis with no Jonathan Taylor had 5.4.
Yeah. So here's Kyler Murray, just for listeners out there. Here's Kyler Murray's last 5 games. 64, which is 10.7 average, then 2, then 11.9 average, then 3, and then 9. So it's a crapshoot. More than likely he'll bump the numbers up, but 5.5 is a lot.
Okay, we go bull there. Tua throws for over 250 yards.
Tua throws for more than 250. I am going to be optimistic. I'm going to say bold. Sorry, Mom, can't pick up right now. I'm going to say bold that Tua throws for 250. Not going to be much more than that, but I think he'll throw for 250. I mean, hell, he had a horrible game against Buffalo, threw for 145.
All right, Miami's offense scores more than 22 points.
Well, I said they were going to score 23, so bold.
Bold there. The Miami Dolphins have over 33 rushing attempts.
You know, this is going to go counter to my prediction, unless Tua throws a bunch of bombs. But I think that they might. I honestly think that they might. It's not going to be, would you have 35 last week and they ended up with another 40 burger. I don't know if they I don't know if that lends well for Tua's 250 yards prop that I just put in there, but I think they might. And I think that would suit them well to continue to focus on the run, knowing that Arizona can't really stop the run as well.
Will any Miami wide receiver have over 100 yards receiving?
Oh, hell, man. You're see, now that everything's back to normal now, I'm getting confused. And I think bold. I think Tyreek's due. I think Tyreek is really due. And he's been kind of sulking the past couple of weeks because he hasn't had, his buddy throwing him the ball. So I think that if he doesn't show up this week, there's gonna be a lot of questions. And so if he shows up this week, everything quiets down. And I think that he might be the one to do it.
Okay. And a Janu Smith one, because he's had a little bit of a breakout here the past few weeks. But again, the quarterback change kind of throws this like a little monkey wrench into this here. Janu Smith will have more than 4 receptions.
Bull. I think we go back to just focusing on the wide receivers. I don't think Janu Smith gets. Yeah, I think that we've kind of seen what that is, and I think Janu is a wonderful security blanket. Nice to have a whoopee out there when you're a fresh quarterback with wide eyes, looking at everything running around. But Tua's going to go back to what he knows, and he's got bread and butter out there. Okay,
so that's that. And I have 14-22 here. You're getting out of this hole. So let's see.
I may not after this week. I don't feel real great about these, but we'll find out.
This is a tougher week, I will say.
There is no Tua rushing prop, by the way, on the Hard Rock Bet app. There is a Kyler Murray rushing prop. And, Mike, I will give you one.
What is it?
Kyler Murray, over under 34.5 rushing yards.
Over. I think he'll break one long one. I think that's going way over.
I agree. I think he will.
Okay, let's go to the picks where we're on a little bit of a hot streak here. Because we started off horribly, but we were 3-1 2 weeks ago.
Seems to be the theme for this year.
Yes. So we were 3-1 2 weeks ago. We were 3-1 last week. The only loss was your lock. I think you had Atlanta over Seattle. Mm-hmm. That was the only loss last week. So for the season on the locks, you are on the locks. You're 2-4. I'm 2-3-1. Mm-hmm. And for the upsets, we're both 4-2. So that's not bad. Now let me open this up.
So here's the thing for this week. There's a lot of home dogs.
I know
this week, and a lot of them are very tempting. And I will give you my lock right now, and I'm going to keep riding Atlanta against Tampa Bay in Tampa. Atlanta's 2.5-point favorites. Tampa has nobody to throw the ball to. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Take the Baker Mayfield rushing over. He's going to be running for his life out there because no one's going to get open. And I think that Atlanta, this is going to be one that helps them get to 5-3 after beating Tampa.
All right, and my lock, just because we saw them last week, and I don't care that he's coming back, Jonathan Taylor. Houston -5 at home over Indianapolis. I almost want to bet my house on it because I think Houston's going to score like 24, 27, or 30. And I have no idea how Anthony Richardson is going to leave more than like 1 or 2 scoring drives. So I think Houston at home is going to blow out Indy. The fact it's only 5, somebody might know something I don't know, because I just think Houston's going to destroy them. So that's where I'm going with there, my lock. Upsets.
Upset's a little tougher this week.
Upset's a little tougher. I found one, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, you go first. I'm still grazing through. Like I had one, but I'm seeing if there's anything better. And I think I have one better. Yeah,
I mean, in general, if you wanted to take one of these big ones, like the Panthers plus 11 versus the Broncos, I mean, that's not bad. If you wanted to take even like the Browns plus 8.5 over the Ravens, they're at home. They always play the Ravens tough. Winston. Spark. So there's like, even if you took the Titans plus 11.5, that's a lot of points in the NFL. I'm going different though. I want the Eagles plus 2.5 at Cincy. I think these two teams are very similar in that you don't know what you're going to get from week to week, kind of. And even though they're on the road, I'm not sure Cincinnati is blowing anybody out. And I think the Eagles are good enough to keep it close. And if they won, like, would anyone be surprised? No. So give me Philly plus 2.5.
I was going to go with Seahawks plus 3 home against the Bills, but
no Metcalf.
That ruins it for me. So I'm going to switch things up, and not knowing the Jaden Daniels story, even if it is Marcus Mariota, I kind of think that the Commanders have something going here. They're hosting the Bears, and the Bears are 3-point favorites on the road. I think Washington can kind of pull that out within 3 points. Mariota played really well. I watched that game on Red Zone. And if Jaden Daniels is in, then give me the points and give me the points anyway. I think that's fine. So give me Washington plus 3 at home against the Bears.
Yeah. It's not awful. I mean, this is a interesting week with the picks. Even the ones on Saturday, I was looking at the games. There's not a lot I love. Honestly, even the Miami one, everyone's saying bet Miami over Florida State.
Bet Miami plus 50 points. I don't really care. They're going to take revenge.
They're going to win. I mean, they're going to win. But for Florida State, this is their Super Bowl, and all these kids know each other from high school because they all play against each other.
Yep.
So the 21s would scare me. I know they're going to win, but this might be the one game where Florida State actually shows up and tries.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of scares me.
And Miami plays to the level of their competition as far as the Hurricanes go.
So I just already put a bet on them on the money line as part of a larger thing I put together, like on ticket there for parlay. So I think the one, but outside there's not a lot of good college games to bet. I don't think this week. I think it's a down week for that. And the pros, I don't even like to bet the pros, but I did bet Houston because I think that if I'm wrong, I'm okay being wrong on that one, because what I saw last week from Indianapolis was a quarterback who's not an NFL quarterback.
No. Another great college quarterback where it just hasn't translated over yet. But again, he's played less than a season. So we'll continue to see. He's got some skill, Richardson does. But I don't think that he is in the top echelon. I probably will place a bet today because I'm chasing my opening night Miami Heat loss. So I probably will place something today and hopefully be able to afford a beer or two later on for the Miami game.
Yes, and I forgot to give the plug at the top of the show because it's a road game for me, so I'm a little bit off sorts.
You're off the wheel.
Caneswear.com for all the latest stuff for the Hurricanes, the Heat, the Panthers, the Miami Dolphins, of course. And if you don't live in South Florida, just go to caneswear.com. If you live in South Florida, stop at their store at 2655 South University Drive, I believe is the address off the top of my head. So check out Caneswear and go to caneswear.com. Robert,
I will say one more thing for Caneswear, especially for people here in South Florida. If you were a fan, they have Inter Miami gear, and Inter Miami won last night. So if you're a soccer fan or football, they got the pink jerseys. Go get you one. Yeah,
they got a ton of awesome stuff there for pretty much all the South Florida teams. So check them out. Robert, thanks so much. I'll see you later today.
Yeah, but
everyone, myself and Tom will be live for the post-game wrap-up show as well on Sunday after the game. So everyone have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again after a while.